Say, well, it's all worthwhile, we need all these things from government. Well, we put out a waste report every week to let you know some of the things your government is doing that you might object to. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We discovered a couple weeks ago that your government spent $2.5 million studying online dating to see if people are making their decisions based on physical appearance. You think? We spent $800,000 in Afghanistan developing a televised cricket league so they can watch cricket on TV. Only problem is they don't have many televisions in Afghanistan. But really the problem is, what business is it of ours to be building a televised cricket league in Afghanistan? We spent $43 million in Afghanistan developing a natural gas station. It was nearly 100 times the estimated cost if you were to build it in the United States. Somebody got rich off of it. Somebody probably should be put in jail for malfeasance. $43 million. But you know who really ought to be punished? The politician who decided that we need natural gas station in Afghanistan. Why is it natural gas? Nobody's got a car that runs on natural gas. It's because somebody decided that we're going to export our green technology. We're going to let the world know how green we are and that we're for all of this green technology. That's sort of a political point, not something that should be part of the military and is not part of our mission. So at the same time we're building natural gas stations and spreading this, then they say, oh, we don't have enough money to defend Benghazi. Everybody watched the movie 13 Hours? You got 5 or 6 guys fighting all night to defend the embassy. I mean, can you imagine how exhausted you'd be fighting 13 hours straight, trying to make your way from one of the consulate to the compound? The reinforcements that they were trying to get, not real reinforcements, but just a few more guys from Tripoli, were waiting. Why? They couldn't get a plane. They were begging the Libyans for a plane, all right? We are the world's richest, greatest, mightiest country, and there was no plane. That disturbs me, it disgusts me. They had requested a plane about a year before, and the Secretary of State, I can't remember what was her name? She turned down a plane. They were asking for a DC-3. Anybody remember what a DC-3 is? An old plane. They wouldn't even give them a DC-3 to fly around the country in case of emergency. However, at the same time that the Secretary of State was saying no plane for Benghazi, no plane for Libya, she did approve, this is from the State Department, $100,000 for an electrical charging station for Chevy Volts for the Vienna embassy. It seems that the ambassador to Vienna, our ambassador working for Hillary Clinton, had decided that she would show off how green we were to the Austrians by taking 24 Chevy Volts over there. Chevy Volts are subsidized by you. So you pay about $200,000 per car, and then the buyer of the car pays about $20,000. So a Chevy Volt costs like $250,000. But you're paying for most of the cost. So we bought a bunch of them, went to Europe, but I know this is going to surprise you, but some people in government aren't very smart. So they got to Europe and they discovered that the plugs were different. I could have told them that. The plugs are different in Europe than they are in America. So they had to pay $100,000 to have an electrical charging station for the embassy in Vienna, but they don't have enough for a DC-3 to provide for defense in Libya. It's worse than that. For the 6 months preceding the ambassador being killed, they took out 2 teams of 6 special forces in the spring, and then it comes to August, a month before the ambassador is killed, Colonel Wood's in charge of a 16-man security team. These are real fighters, 16 guys. They're all brought home in August, despite the fact that Colonel Wood sent notice after notice to the Secretary of State saying, it's dangerous. They attacked the British ambassador. We're going to be overrun if you leave us defenseless. But what were they doing with the State Department money? You say, oh, well, maybe there's just not enough money. Maybe we don't give them enough money. Well, they spent $700,000 in Brussels on landscaping at the embassy there. They spent $100,000, this is all the State Department. They spent $100,000 sending 3 comedians to India on the Make Chai Not War tour. What are we doing sending money for comedians? I mean, the State Department really is sending money to send comedians? Your government wastes a lot of money. We spent last year $250,000 sending 24 students from Pakistan to space camp in Alabama. We've got kids in Kentucky that would like to go to space camp in Alabama. We don't have money to do these things. We spent $15 million on free community college for foreign students. We spend $30 billion a year on foreign aid. We send money to countries that burn our flag. We send money to countries that chant death to America in the streets, and we send them money. But if you get anybody in Washington to listen to you, they'll say, oh, we're influencing the behavior of the moderates. And so it doesn't really seem to be working. So 2 weeks ago, I forced a vote. One senator can stop an arms sale, at least temporarily. We were selling $700 million worth of F-16s to Pakistan. Sale is sort of a loose interpretation of the word, though. We were giving them $350 million worth of them. We were paying for their jets. And who is Pakistan? Are they our friend? Are they our enemy? Well, I call them our frenemy. Part friend, part enemy. When we're looking at them, they're our friend. When we look away, they're our enemy. Remember, bin Laden spent 10 years in Afghanistan plotting to attack us? Who was he hosted by? The Taliban. Who recognized the Taliban and supported them with arms and money? 2 countries in the world, Pakistan being one. When we chased bin Laden out of Afghanistan, where did he go? Pakistan. He lived for 10 years within a mile of their military academy. How many houses do you think were in that town that had 15-foot walls? Handful, and we couldn't figure out he was there, and the Pakistanis said they couldn't figure out he was there. If you are a Christian in Pakistan, you can be put in jail for your religion. Don't believe me? Asia Bibi has been on death row for 5 years. She's a Christian, less than 1% Christian in Pakistan anymore. She went to the well in a small village to draw water. As she was drawing water from the well, they began chanting death, death to the Christian. They began beating her with stones, beating her with sticks, and as she lay bleeding on the ground, crying out for help, the police finally arrived, only to arrest her. And she was charged with criticizing the state religion. The penalty, death. It's also death for conversion. If you convert from Islam to Christianity in about 34 countries, it's death. Can we make them change their laws? No. But I'll be damned if I want to send my money over to these countries that are putting Christians to death. We need to stand up for ourselves. We're a country that borrows $1 million a minute, and we're sending $30 billion around the world. We have to borrow the money from China to send it to Pakistan. We do the same with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia recently imprisoned a poet and was given a death penalty for poetry. They said he was an atheist, critical of the state religion, and then they finally converted his penalty to 8 years in prison and 800 lashes. There was a woman raped in Saudi Arabia. She was put in prison for being in the car with an unmarried man. She was publicly whipped and given a prison sentence. These are the people your money is flowing to. In Egypt, we sent $60 billion to the Mubaraks. They stole most of it. It is thought that 70% of foreign aid is stolen off the top. We wouldn't even have it to give. We're borrowing the money to send it to thieves and thugs. Some people have said about foreign aid, it's taken from poor people in rich countries and given to rich people in poor countries. It gets taken off the top. So we aren't influencing behavior, we're wasting money, and we were a country now that borrows $1 million a minute. Where we were once a great country that manufactured things and sold them around the world, you know what our biggest export is now? Our debt. China owns $1 trillion, Japan owns $1 trillion, Russia has $100 billion, even Mexico. We owe money to Mexico. We have to wake up. We have to wake up and do things differently. If we want to compete in the world market, we need to have our taxes low enough to compete.